Please welcome four-time Oscar viewer, Conan O'Brien.
The supporting actor category at the 97th Academy Awards presented audiences with an interesting thought experiment.
What part of you maybe could resonate with you, that character? Maybe you have that same thing, or where did you have to go to get?
He's the person that drives people crazy.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to. Were you Benji, or did you have to tap into something?
Yes, no, did apparently. I got sort of two answers.
Does a role have to be transformative to be good? The Academy's answer?
And the Oscar goes to Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain.
Not necessarily.
And I've already lost whatever speech I prepared, 20 seconds or whatever.
Many critiqued Culkin's portrayal of spontaneous, wisecracking Benji in A Real Pain as playing himself.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'll get that.
Was he not just playing a hoodie-clad version of Roman Roy?
What about you? What about Roman?
Me? Let's hear it. What's the pitch?
You're widely known as a horrible person.
Was Benji too similar to the freewheeling, off-the-cuff public persona we had come to expect of Culkin?
Is this your first nomination?
No, second. Look it up, man.
And importantly, did he even disappear into the role?
You're kind of a unique person. I think you sort of like, you're a bit of a, how can I say it?
Maniac.
No, a maniac. Yeah,
psychopath.
I could say
bipolar.
But this begs the question, can you actually disappear into a role? Sure, there are famed stories of actors losing themselves in a character.
What about Daniel Day-Lewis?
The transformation is so comprehensive that you don't even feel like you're with an actor.
But is this mythic, transformative experience what truly makes for an award-winning performance? Well, historically speaking...
And the Oscar goes to Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes.
There was an extensive and careful use of prosthetic makeup.
Brendan Fraser.
I know that's you, but it's an incredible transformation. Yeah. How long did that take?
Jessica Chastain, guys.
Well, it wasn't Gary anymore.
Gary Oldman.
It's this Winston Churchill.
That weight loss.
And the Oscar goes to...
I'd lost a lot of weight in about 2 weeks.
Miss Anne Hathaway.
For English people, I think you lost something like 3.5 stone.
Matthew McConaughey.
47 pounds. What was that? 3.5 stone. Here we go.
Must have been a torture that you were having one apple when other people were having proper lunch.
It wasn't one apple. I don't know who said that. I think Todd probably did.
What was it?
There was also lettuce and steamed asparagus with vinegar.
These types of roles physically display the work an actor does. It makes all the research, homework, and prep that went into creating that specific character readily visible to an audience.
Some actors work cerebrally, some work physically. I like to work physically a lot of times.
I've always been a physical kind of actor, but I think we're both physical actors, you know, don't you think?
Yeah, oh yes, I think so.
Sometimes these types of performances are referred to as outside in.
Naturally, I'm a pretty movement-based performer. Sometimes it feels a lot more sustainable to build physically outside in.
Oh, you just called me a coyote, didn't you?
Meaning the actor relies on external touchstones. Think hair, makeup, and costume.
The longer I sat there, the more I could start to shift how I was even holding and carrying my body.
The way they walk, the way they talk.
And then a lot of it came from the outside as well, just trying to find how he walked, how he looked, stealing little things. Like he always stood with his hand on his hip in a very jaunty angle in all the...
That was a thing. That is a thing.
Gaining weight and muscularity for a particularly physical role.
Let's talk about protein shakes.
Let's talk about protein shakes. Protein and more protein.
Or losing weight to more authentically represent a character.
I had to lose a lot of weight.
This can be contrasted with performances that can be referred to as inside out. That is, roles where the work is largely internal, requiring an actor to build a truthful inner life for the character through imagination or their own lived experiences.
Do you think of yourself as inside out or outside in?
Definitely inside out. I think I absorb information and then I figure out how I relate to it or empathize with it in order to try and authentically feel those things.
But building a distinction between these two styles is relatively pointless because most actors are likely relying on a mixture of both, and the approach they use largely depends on the type of role they are taking on.
For me, I think that the costumes and the makeup and the hair are incredibly important. So for me, they kind of seal me up.
You just look for the triggers and you look for the thing that gives you the confidence to say, I am this guy. Sometimes it can be something as simple as a costume. I always go back to Wild at Heart. I had these teeth. Other times you create a history until you make things happen, until you learn things that make you have a shift in your head to feed the imagination.
There's cars coming through here. We got guests.
Just think about Natalie Portman's Oscar-winning performance in 2010's Black Swan.
I had the craziest dream last night.
about a girl who was turned into a swan, but her prince falls for the wrong girl and she kills herself.
So I was already doing my ballet training. And then we got the script, and then we started training more, and then we got money, and then we started training more.
Here, the script demands a level of physical transformation.
Attack it!
But that doesn't mean Portman isn't also bringing an interiority to her character, Nina. Contrast this with Michelle Williams' performance in Blue Valentine, nominated that same year. Here, the script may not demand as much of a physical transformation as in Black Swan, but that doesn't mean Williams isn't bringing a physical life to her character Cindy, or that she isn't giving an equally award-worthy performance. Rather, as two vastly different characters in two vastly different roles, both actors are honoring the script and giving two phenomenal performances.
Do you want me to keep reading, or are you tired?
I need a cigarette.
There are films where the subject matter is going to require more of a physical transformation.
What are you all staring at?
There are roles that present the opportunity for actors to take on characters far removed from themselves.
Black hair and more eye makeup will make your eyes stand out more.
These performances aren't inherently better or worse, just what the script demands. But what happens when actors do take on roles close to themselves?
So I got to be able to bring a lot of my own personal experience, my kind of long life of my whole life really into this role.
Sometimes this can be as legitimate a challenge as playing their polar opposite.
When it is literally just you, it's really scary.
It's you.
I mean, you might as well be walking onto set with no clothes on.
Yeah.
I always love anything that makes me just feel out of myself.
Yeah.
If it's something that's close to who I am, I'm like, oh shit.
I can't possibly do that.
Yeah.
When actors do play a series of characters that share similarities, they tend to become known for that thing or that role.
Hi.
They can often get put in a box.
Hello, I'm April Ludgate.
And I think for a while it felt like I did feel kind of like, oh man, I'm being like put in a box or something.
They begin to get opportunities to play roles that echo that character they've become known for.
It's just inevitable. What ends up happening is that everybody sort of goes, oh, you've done that, so we'll give you this.
And suddenly I am the mean mom, you know, the mom that's very scary, that says you'll never be enough. But then you can see the roles are getting from mother to auntie. You know, the box gets smaller and smaller.
This doesn't make their performance bad or even mean they're a bad actor, but people begin to see them as less transformative. They don't disappear. They lack range. Aren't they always just playing the same person, a version of themselves, perhaps?
Thank you very much, Miss Lippy!
Coming from comedy, were you ever reluctant to make that switch, or
When they actually are given roles that allow them to really stretch themselves, their performances become mesmerizing.
It showed me that my friend Adam, in the eyes of others who only saw you as the court jester and the clown, isn't going to be relegated to a one-note jokester.
And I've waited a long time to receive a script like that.
If I convince people so well that I was that one thing, and then I do something that's totally different, then it will be that much more satisfying to surprise them.
It's less about disappearing or radically transforming for a role and more about making sure that what you're doing makes sense for the story you're telling. Famed acting teacher Sanford Meisner once asked his students to count the number of cars they heard outside their classroom. After a minute, he asked, were you listening as yourself or a character? We can only listen as ourselves. We can only think our own thoughts, feel our own feelings, see with our eyes, and feel with our touch.
There are pieces of us in all our roles, you know, and I think this is a specific role where I really, really got to play.
Whether playing someone close to themselves or an otherworldly being, all actors try to find some authentic connection to their character, some bridge between the script and themselves.
These are for you.
You are a darling. What Pedro was asking for was me to really bring myself and my own responses. Very often I'm kind of goofing around with wigs and teeth and funny faces. But this was really about a kind of absolute authentic response because it's an incredibly personal film for me.
Yes, an active imagination can be incredibly powerful here, but this still comes from within.
When you approach something, you know, you have to close the difference between them and us, and they become you.
I've got to animate with something that maybe that I could find that part in myself. I got to bring me in some way, but it's Bayard fully. But I've got to
spirit of them too, you know.
You're trying to join your spirit energy to this larger energy that's at work.
At least for me, it feels like a study of yourself
which then, as you go deeper into yourself, you realize it's everyone.
So back to this.
I have no idea how I got here. I've just been acting my whole life.
Saying you preferred another actor's performance to Culkin's is completely valid, but basing this off the fact that he didn't disappear into the character is kind of baseless.
So for you, when you were filming this role, did it feel any different to any other role you've done?
Yes, Benji sort of matches Culkin's energy, his public persona, but he's ultimately honoring the character he's playing, and he's doing so in a highly spontaneous way. You never know what he's going to do.
Can you just get a picture of me then? Fighting with my Polish brethren?
The choices he makes are incredibly exciting.
I'm going in.
And that's thrilling to watch as an audience and not always easy to pull off as an actor. There's an effortless quality to his performance that doesn't look like acting.
She said that?
If you look at Jeremy Strong's take on contentious lawyer and political fixer Roy Cohn,
The Roy Cohn from all the papers and everything.
That's right.
it does feel like more of a disappearing act. His performance certainly requires more of a physical transformation than Culkin's. It feels like he's taking a massive risk in the choices he's making, and in another actor's hands, this could ring false. But for Strong, it works incredibly well. Both these performances are excellent. Both are award-worthy.
No, I mean, I just feel like, sorry.
Okay.
Is anyone else, like, feeling this right now?
Equating the effortless quality that Culkin brings to A Real Pain as just playing himself, or labeling Strong's daring performance in The Apprentice as doing too much, is an unfair assessment.
Whenever I've worked on something important, I end up taking things with me. Like, sometimes people will say, like, oh, you're a lot like that character. I'm like, I wasn't until I did it, and now I feel like I took something with me. But I'd like to think that I'm a little more together than that guy.
In both these films, the actors are honoring the script. Both are finding the impulses that drive their characters. Both are making the characters their own and owning their performances.
I told him when I saw it, I was like, this is possibly the best performance I've seen this year, or in many years. He's absolutely in The Apprentice.
Oh, he's unbelievable.
He's fantastic in it. I've just been telling everybody, go see this movie. He's incredible.
Does it really matter if they disappeared?
If there are overlaps, that's a lot of times how audiences perceive people that they've seen in other things, and that's every actor deals with that. But to me, this is a thing that I've never seen on screen before, and a performance that, shocked me every moment.